Charles Barkley, who I'm a big fan of. Listen, James Harden is doing a great job in Brooklyn. But we see this all the time. We've talked about this with Lamar Jackson. Right now, he's a great regular season quarterback. Is he a great postseason quarterback? We've seen this. A-Rod was a great player, but he was never quite as good in the postseason. That's James Harden. He's a dominant regular season player. He's not as dominant in the postseason. And my belief has always been because he doesn't get the whistle in the playoffs. Referees get out of the way. And the further the playoffs go, the conference finals, the finals, it's wrestling. Refs do not want to decide it. They want the stars to decide it. The refs don't have a favorite. Their favorite's swallowing the whistle. And you just don't get the whistle. And Harden's game is built for the whistle. So was Karl Malone, except in the playoffs. If you look at James Harden's regular season numbers and his postseason numbers, his field goal percentage goes down, his free throw attempts go down, his three-point percentage goes down, his points go down. They don't plummet, but they're not the same. Whereas Michael Jordan and Kobe were often at their greatest in the playoffs. We keep falling for three or four things in sports. One of the things we always fall for is the quarterbacks in the draft from big-name schools. They don't dominate the league. Go look at the last year's 8 division winners. Not a single one was from a football power. Look at Tua. Because from big-name schools, being a quarterback is all about comfort. Receivers are wide open. You never get hit. NFL quarterback is all about discomfort. Can you just get hit constantly? We keep falling for that. The star quarterback from the big university, the Alabama quarterback, look around the league. That's not who dominates the league. It's guys from Boston College and NC State and Miami of Ohio and Cal. That's one of the things we fall for. The second thing we always fall for is the flashy point guard in the NBA that can't shoot. Derrick Rose, John Wall, Russell Westbrook. If you can't shoot and you're under 6'5" in this league, you will never dominate it. You will never be a huge factor in the playoffs. You got to be able to shoot. Now, if you're LeBron and can drive, or you're 6'9", you're a dominant wing or a big, that becomes less important. But if you're 6'4" or under and can't shoot, you become actually a playoff liability. The third thing in sports we always fall for is the 12-year, $400 million baseball contract. None have ever looked good halfway through it. The Mookie Betts deal's the first one that has a chance to not be awful because he's great, he's healthy, he signed it young enough so by the end of it, he'll be out of his prime, but he won't be an old man. And that has a chance to be a good one. And even the last 3 years of that, and Mookie's the best player in the game or second best, you're way overpaying for him. James Harden's regular season dominance is falling into this category. If I have to hear another person tell me how great he is in the regular season, he's Karl Malone. And I covered Karl Malone. Karl Malone is scored the second most points in league history. That's insane, right? In the history of the planet. Karl Malone scored the second most points. More than Michael, more than LeBron, more than Kobe, more than Hakeem, more than Shaq, more than everybody except Kareem. No rings, 2 final trips. Well, Karl Malone depended on the whistle. Look at the top 5 scorers of all time. Kareem's got 6 titles. LeBron's got 4. Kobe's got 5 and MJ 6. Karl 0. Why? Don't tell me he didn't have help. John Stockton's a top 5 point guard ever. Jerry Sloan was a top 2 or 3 coach in the league. Mark Eaton led the NBA during that time with Karl Malone, blocking shots 4 times, 5 times first or second team all defense. So he had first or second best rim protector, first or second best point guard, top 3 coach, and they always had, and by the way, one of the great home court advantages, they got no rings, got 2 trips. Wasn't like the West had dominant teams every year because Karl Malone depended on the whistle. I covered some of those series, Utah, Portland. It's not that he didn't ever get the whistle, but you don't get it in those big deciding games. James Harden, similarly, has 23 times in his career scored over 50 points. Never in the playoffs. Because to score 50 points, you got to get to the free throw line a lot, and you do not in the playoffs. That is the difference. Kobe didn't depend on the whistle. Larry Bird didn't depend on the whistle. Michael Jordan didn't depend on the whistle. Magic didn't depend on the whistle. They would get the whistle, but they didn't need it. to definitively cement their game, and Harden does. It's not to say this team can't get to the finals, but that ball-centric style, how many years are we going to see it? It rolls in the regular season. It dries up in the postseason. Okay, so this one doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Today's the NBA trade deadline, right? And there's some trades. The Bulls made a big trade to get with Orlando today. This one I don't get. Sometimes you have to accept your fate. Okay, this is a condensed season. Bunch of games back to back to back. The Lakers are old. Their two stars are old. They won the championship, so they played the most possible games last year. And it's the shortest offseason. You've got to come to terms with this was not going to be great. There were some predictable health issues for the Lakers. So there's a story out there this morning. The Lakers are considering bringing Kyle Lowry of the Raptors over and basically getting rid of Dennis Schroeder, KCP, Montrezl Harrell, Taylor Horton Tucker, draft picks. A timeout. First of all, when the Lakers were healthy, they were clearly the best team in the league. Why panic? Secondly, Kyle Lowry's 35. The Raptors are 18-3 the last 2 years when he doesn't play. He's not dominating Eastern Conference points guards. Listen, you got to just understand your fate. AD's back in 2 weeks. You've got 8 games during that period. If you go 1-7, and the Lakers aren't good without AD and LeBron, let's say you go 1-7, you're still 29-23. You're probably 6th or probably 7th in the West. LeBron comes back 2 weeks after that. You're good. But you have to accept your fate. You have your 2 stars. One is brittle AD and one is older LeBron. Okay, that you have to accept it. It's a condensed schedule. More games in a shorter time. Shortest offseason. You played the most possible games. You could see some of this coming. This was going to be a struggle. That's why they went out and got a Schroeder. That's why they went out and got a Montrezl Harrell. They wanted younger players and more depth because they got kind of a scheduling break last year, believe it or not, with the pandemic where AD and LeBron could rest for 4.5 months. This feels like a panic move to me. I don't get it. It's nothing against Kyle Lowry, but if he's your answer, I'm not sure I want to know the question. The Western Conference is stacked. You're going to go 1-7 over your next 8 games. You're not out of the playoffs. You're going to be 29-23. That's fine. And you were the best team in the league clearly when LeBron and AD were healthy. And AD's back in 2 weeks. I mean, and unless the Lakers know something we don't know about AD's health or LeBron's health, that it's far worse, then that's different. But this feels like, I'm sorry, but I like KCP. I used to be a huge doubter, but he's a big shot guy in the playoffs. Horton people really like. He's a unique talent. I don't think Kyle Lowry's the answer.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.